So this chart, the same, the same. Just put together like functionally and where they coming out, and the number, the name, just put together very easily to remember and understanding. Then we're talking about the spinal nerve. So spinal nerves, we still say belong to PNI. And more repeatedly, you are easily remember. So our nervous systems separate with CNI and the PNI. The nervous sponge directly coming from our brain, we call cranial nerves. We have 12 pairs for cranial nerves. And if the nerve branch directly coming out from spinal cord, then we call spinal nerves. So totally we have 31 pairs spinal nerves. So spinal nerves is mixed nerves, means they will have motor part, they will have sensory part, they also may carry some automatically nervous controlled organs. So that's our 31 pair of the spinal nerves. So picture here, they show us, picture here, they show us. So that's coming from one level or one section of the spinal cord here. Just cut transversely. Then we're looking inside. So still, they have sensory and motor. So that's the sensory branch here. And the receptors under the skin here. And the information transmitted through this branch and then go to the spinal cord. They will have sometimes they transferred from one nerve cell to another nerve cell. So that's ganglion. Basically means group of the nerve cells together. But that's generally transmission way. That's the sensory part. Then they go to the spinal cord. They still have some small nerve cells connections from the sensory and then go to the motor. So this part means the motor. And the motor, mainly for this picture, we're talking about some prosthetic kind of motor. That's go to control skeletal muscles here. So that look like a circle here. Feel something in the skin, and then patient can react for the muscles contraction. So that's the like the PNS part, like these parts together, we call spinal nerves. Spinal nerves. like usually we're talking about the nerve branch. So that's the somatic nervous systems. Somatic means the body. Somatic nervous systems is the controllable nervous system. Thus go to all over our body, mainly control the body movement. Thus control our skeletal muscles. So that's generally our body control part. Body control part. And they will control different levels in different parts of the body. So like this picture here. We say totally we have 31 pairs of the spinal nerves, but different part or different level, they control air will be different. They coming from neck first because that's our spinal cord start part. They coming out from each of the levels, and then few of them committing together, and mainly go to like the arm area, they bunch again, and the lower back area, same thing. They coming to different level, then fusing together, then they bunch again. But generally say in the chest, in the abdominal area, they coming from each of the levels. They just control that kind of levels, sensory and motor function. So that's the general picture. If we're marching to other side, and even more clear, So that's by the color, you know where they control. That's coming from C2, and then C3, C4 control area, and C5, C6, yeah, very close here, and C7. So that's basically, and then you can march from T1, yeah, T1, T2, T3, yeah, something like that, yeah, something like that. You just marching the color and which area, you know which level of the nerve branch coming from spinal cord control which part of the body. So that's our somatic nervous systems and where they control. Yeah, where they control. So that's basically same idea. Just more pictures help you more easily understanding. Yes, still pretty similar like last picture. But the last picture we're only talking about in the same levels. This one, yeah, this one, we're talking about even not only control the skeletal muscles, they also have bunch control the organs. And they also send information like coming from receptors, and then sending information go to the brain, go to CNS, and also they receive the information control coming from CNS, and then get some information here. So that's we say nervous system is more complicated system. They like connected each other and control each other, upward and downward. So that's this picture. And like the pretty similar picture here, still tell us like some reflection. So what means reflection? Reflections just means like your body get some injury or whatever, they immediately react. So basically reflections, they need the receptors first, receive the information, then control center, then effections. Yeah, effections. So basically they go like this. Yeah. So that's the picture here, reflections. Like someone by accident hitting something, like a nail in here, patient immediately get painful sensations. So receptors under the skin send the information through the sensory nerves, go upward, then go to spinal cord. We say in the same level, we have another nervous cells will connect it with other nervous cells for motor part. They will send the information back to the skeletal muscles, like in here, make muscles contractions. And certainly they also sending the information upward, still send to the nervous cells for motor control here, and control the muscles. Let it be upper compared with last one here. So that's coming from here. That's coming from here. And sending downwards also. And connected with the nervous cells here. And then sending control here. So they are not in the same level, but basically they control. The group of the muscles here make the muscles contracted. That's the back part of the upper leg. So we say when muscles contracted, they will be shorter. When they shorter, they moving this bone, go this side. Flexion, yeah. Like we talking about the muscle movement. Flexion, yeah. Angle getting smaller here. But truly they moving their leg from here and back to here. So that happens when your body like get any kind of injury, you immediately reaction. Look like a simple but complicated process during the nervous system. So that's basically for our spinal nerves control or muscle movement part. So that's we say totally we have 31 pair of the spinal nerves. It controls the body movement, yeah, body like they can control the muscles movement and receive the information, and they also control automatically nerves. Yeah. So like we just finished the motor sensory part of somatic part. But truly we have some bunch go to automatically part. Another part of nervous system we call ganglia. What means ganglia? Yeah, we just gave a lot of different names. Yeah, different names. So ganglia is a kind of a group of the nervous tissues together, form a masses. So that's certainly mainly its nervous cells, body part together. And it also located outside of the brain and the spinal cord. I must say inside of brain and the spinal cord, mostly it's a group of the nervous cells in there already for our seeing eyes. But outside of the brain or spinal cord, usually we say mainly is the nervous bunch or axons of the nervous cells. Now some special parts we still possible have a group of the nervous cells together. That we call ganglia. So ganglia that's located, yeah, for different nervous cells, they located a little bit different, but whatever functionally, they are more close relationship with our cranial and spinal nerve. So generally speaking, we have two different kinds of ganglia. One is belong to sympathetic, and if ganglia connected each other form a track. So that's sympathetic ganglia tract. It located anterior and the lateral side to the vertebral column. So we can see the picture here. So this picture coming from sympathetic ganglia. You can see basically three big in the neck area, and then in the chest area, and some on the lower back area, lumbar area, yeah, and even some even lower in the sacrum area, and they connected each other to other side. But the nerve bunch, they coming out start from T1 with the spinal cord, yeah. T1, L2, L2. So that's basically, yeah, for sympathetic ganglia. And then the nerve bunch go to, you can see, upper part go to the eyes, and then go to some salivary glands, still on the head. Middle part go to the heart, go to the lung, And the lower part go to the liver, gallbladder, stomach, spleen, pancreas, and the small large intestine, and even go to adrenal glands and kidney, and even go to the genital area, your bladder and the genital area. Control all over body organs. So that's we talking about sympathetic nervous system. So that's we say they coming out from spinal cord, and the 3 big muscles in the neck area, and 11 or 12 on the chest area, 4 or 5 in the lumbar area, 4 or 5 in the sacrum area, and then connected other side right in there. So that's together, control both internally, mainly organ functions. Then we talking about whole ganglion nerves. What means whole ganglion nerves? So we are talking about the ganglion here. That's basically is the nervous cells and the nervous cells connected part. We say mainly is the body of the nervous cells. I need to make it enlarging somewhere. Let's use this picture. Let's use this picture. So this picture, sympathetic and somatic nerves together, but blue part is the sympathetic in here. But generally speaking, that's the bunch coming out go to control of our organs here. But they receive the information. They receive the information from other nervous cells. So still not that clear. So like we have one nervous cell here. And the axon part coming out. I just might make something pretty similar here. Like they coming out here. Then they control the internal organ here. But they must have another nerve bunch go to here and connected with it. That's usually like this one coming from our CNS. So the nerve bunch before it, that means here. Here is ganglion. Here is the ganglion part. Oh no, sorry. Here is ganglion part. But truly some nerve bunch coming out go to the ganglion part like here. Not this line here. It's the line coming from here. It's the line coming from here and make it bigger. So here is the ganglion part. Here's the ganglion part, and some other nerve bunch coming and then go to the ganglion part. and connected with some other nervous cells here. So basically, this part, we call it foreganglion, means before. And certainly after, like a nerve branch in here, after ganglion, we call it posterganglion. So that's we just name it. Yeah, we just name it foreganglion and postganglion. So we just talking about some nerves. Yeah, foreganglion kind of nerves. Yeah, like some of the nerve cells in the brain or spinal cord. Nerve branch coming from the nerve cell. And then the axon part contacted with another nerve cell. So that's the foreganglion neck kind of nerve. Then the same idea, poster ganglion neck nerve means the nerve cells located outside of the eyes and the cell body located after ganglion part. So that's basically we separate foreganglion and postganglion. So that's usually control automatically nervous system. That's we say automatically ganglion. So that's for the foreganglion and the postganglion part. So this picture is a little bit more clear. So that's the CNS part. Yeah, the cell body inside of CNS. Yeah, we still say CNS, including the brain and the spinal cord. Yeah. And then there are axons coming out to the spinal cord, then go to a group of the nerve cells located area. We call it ganglion area. Then the axons have terminal here and contacted with other nerve cells body here. Other nerve cells body, they still have axons or bunch or fabric. They go to relationship the organs area. So that's we just separate here. This part we call foreganglion. So certainly, if only the axon here, that's the foreganglion fabric. If including the cells here, we say that's the foreganglion nervous cells here. And the same idea. It's after, if we only say axon here, that's the foreganglion kind of fabric here. But if we including the cells body, that's the postganglion nervous cells body located are the axons coming from the body. So that's we say foreganglion and the postganglion cells or maybe fabric. So pretty similar here. Yeah, pretty similar here. we say go to the organ part, sympathetic part. They will control the grass or maybe control the smooth muscles. So through the ganglion, and the post fabric directly control the grass or maybe control the smooth muscles. Just example here. So that's we talking about the sympathetic ganglion. Don't lose it. Yeah. We are in the PNS. We are in the PNS part. PNS part. We have 12 pairs of spinal nerves. We finished already. Thus mainly control the head part, but truly we have number 10, control internal organs. Then we're talking about 31 pairs of the spinal nerves. 31 pairs spinal nerves we separate with 2 parts. They may control the skeletal muscles we call somatic nervous system. They may also control internal organs. So we say motor part, motor part. And control internal organs we separate with 2 parts. Why is sympathetic? Sympathetic nerve branch. Why is parasympathetic? Parasympathetic. So we just finished sympathetic part, like a ganglion here, ganglion there. Now we're moving to parasympathetic ganglia. So still means group of the nerve cells together form the parasympathetic nervous system. So parasympathetic nerves is a little bit different with sympathetic. Still remember, sympathetic mainly located anterior and lateral of the vertebral column. They form a line like this. Then they have branch go to the organs. But parasympathetic, the different picture here. So that's the parasympathetic nervous system. So they coming out, about part coming out from the brain. Still remember, we have number 10 mainly, spinal nerve. And the lower part, they coming from sacrum region. Then the nerve branch go to cross to the organs. Then they got control to the organs. So that's parasympathetic ganglion, mainly close each of the internal organs. So that's a different picture. Sympathetic and parasympathetic, and their locations, but they're working, helping each other. So that's we say they go to near or close their organs, their control. So we say we have some exceptions. Yeah, they have 4 pairs. The parasympathetic ganglion on the head and the neck area. They are not truly close to the organs, but mostly they close to organs. So 4 exceptions here. Still on the neck area. Then they control, like control salivary glands, they control the eyes, and then they control some other glands on the eyes for the tears usually. Then we talking about nerve impulse. What means nervous impulse? That's the way nerve cells transmission information or may be communicated with one another. So basically, in the same nerve cells, it's electrical signal. It's along the dendrites or maybe axons, some electrical transmission there. Electrical changing. So that's electrical coming from internal of our ions. That's basically we have 2 ions and they like from one location to another other location they are moving, and then the microelectrical will be transforming. So that's the coming from microelectrical. So during these sections, like we talking about some other material transmissions, truly we need the special channels, means protein channels. And even sometimes we need energy, that's the bump. So let's see the picture here. So like originally, that's the cell's membrane here. Or we can think about the cell's membrane cover the axons, because we mainly transmit around the axon. So that's the inside of axon part. That's the outside of axon part. Then here is the cell's membrane or axon cover here. So normally, the axons or cells, they have a positive kind of electrical located on the outside of the axon, and the negative kind of electrical located inside of axon. But for some situation happens, like when cells receive some stimulation, like a needle pushing them, then they will happen the iron moving. Basically, solid moving coming from outside of axon and moving go to inside of axon. So thus they will carry one positive kind of electrical in there because that's iron. And gradually that kind of moving will happen from this side, gradually moving to other side. So you can see the picture follow here. That means the transmission information from this side to that side gradually. So that's the nervous sponge transforming way. Yeah, transforming way. Certainly, after the transforming, the microelectrical, and we need to recover the normal stage. So what's the normal? So that's from inside of cell and moving some other ions carries the same positive kind of electrical to outside cell. Then finally recover for the original state. So that's basically our nervous impulse, and it happens. Just some ions moving from inside the cell, moving to outside cell, and certainly after the ions still need to recover its original state. So that's the part the iris moving basically will channels help. We say with some special kind of iris channel open, they will allow special kind of iris moving to special side of the cell's membrane, like we talked about before, material moving through the cell. We have positive way, we have active way. If we moving from low concentrated part to high concentrated part, thus we need bounce, need ATP. If moving from high concentrated part to low concentrated part, thus we are not necessarily need ATP, but still protein channels help. So picture here just show us some special kind of protein channels. Like we talked about from the beginning, it's the solidium moving, passing the channel, go to inside of cells, and then follow up. They are moving to outside, carry the same like a positive kind of iris there. And certainly later, we need to recover the originally more solidium outside. We need to recover that one. How we can recover? So that we have special kind of channel, and with ATP's help, like we're moving too much solidium go in, now we use ATP's help, we're moving out. And certainly we need others moving in again. But this process is against concentrated. So that truly need energy or body's energy, ATP form. So ATP changing from ATP to ATP. But you are not necessary to remember what actually happened. You just remember. It is truly need ATP's help in this part. So that's the basically how nervous can transmission the electrical from one side to another side, and how it recovers. So that's still the same thing here. Ions go to inside first, then they gradually moving. Thus, you can see the difference, like a two picture, little bit difference here. Left side, basically we show some axons with no myelinated. We say no myelinated axon means no special kind of cover. Right side here, we show some axon, they have special kind of cover. We say that's myelinated axons. So their transmission way little bit different. Still, solid more go to inside and then they gradually moving. But we can compare here. In the first, it's not seconds. Mean seconds. Thousands, 1,000 of seconds. So pretty, how faster you can see. So they start moving both sides. Look like pretty similar. Then during the 5 milliseconds, look like a still pretty similar distance here. But you can see like go to 10 milliseconds or even later, the moving speed is much faster for myelinated axons. So we say the electrical jumping from here to here, and then jumping from here to here, then to here, like the transmission by the jumping way. But this side, they must be moving like a walking way. So thus we say myelinated axons transmission way faster compared with non-myelinated. But non-myelinated compared with other transmission ways, like a hormone, still faster. We just compare these two here. So that's the electrical and its transmission way here. Then we go to the synapse part. What means synapse? So when we're talking about transmission with the same cell from one side of the cell to another side of the cell, like this one, it's always electrical transmission. From body part to the terminal part. That's always electrical transmission, whatever, with myelinated axon or non-myelinated axon. But the cells transmission the signals from one cell to another cell, we have two different ways. So that means one nerve cells, the terminals here, we just make it enlarging. That means another nerve cells, the terminals, the transmission way. So generally say from this way to other way. That's another cell here and another cell here. So transmission from one cell to another cell, we have two different ways. One way is still electrical. Between these two cells, basically we have a tiny small space there. That's we call synapse. Means connected part. If it is transmission by electrical way, so basically still some channels open. They directly electrical passing through. Some of the nerve cells, the transmission to another nerve cells is not by electrical, it's by chemical. So what means chemical and how the transmission way will be happen? So look like we have some chemical is covered and holding inside the terminal part of the cell. Still, electrical transmission to the terminal part, then trigger is close to the superficial of the cell membrane here, and then they open to relieve the chemicals between the space here. That means synapse. Then on the second cells here, they have special kind of channel, or we can say receptors, can receive that kind of chemicals. Then some reaction happens for the second cell, maybe still trigger electrical changing, or maybe changing for ions changing, and then transmission to other side of the cell, or maybe some reactions will be happening. So that we say this space we call synapse. That's the cell transmission way from one cell to another cell. So that's the function connected part from one nerve cell to another. And it could be possible from one nerve cell to another nerve cell, or possible coming from the nerve cells. We say they can control the muscles, connected with the muscles, or they can control the grass, connected with grass. It's depending. But generally say, it's the one nerve cell connected with the other cells the way by the synapse. And we say synapse we separate with two different kinds. One kind is electrical synapse. That's still transmission by the electrical from one cell to another cell by some junctions there. And this way, electrical transfer is not that much. Most way, chemical kind of synapse is more popular. It's more popular. And we say we have chemical synapse. We have some chemical holding there, but we have lot of chemicals in there. I just list some of them, some common ones, but not limited in here. So all of these chemicals, we give it a name, neurotransmitters. That is the special chemical located in the ending part of nervous cells. We call it nervous transmitter. They have a lot of, they have a lot of. And that's the way they release chemicals. And the second cells, they can receive the chemicals through the synapse. So when we put it together, so that's the way transmissions, we have receptors, on the hand, and the feeling, like the locations of the hand and feeling something changing, and then transmissions through the spinal cord. Finally, remember we go to opposite of the brain, and then the transmission back again, and then control the hand like a muscle holding the pen, writing there. So that's the whole way. Mostly in the same nervous cells by electrical transmission. But if from the cell to another cell by the synapse, with still possible electrical transmission, but mostly it's the chemical transmission. So that's we say some control for the internal organs is automatically controlled there. We call automatically nervous system. Automatically nervous systems, thus mainly maintenance for our internal bodies, environment balance. Internal body environment balance, we say that's homeostasis. So that's basically controlled by automatically nervous system. It automatically controlled there. It's not a volunteer kind of control. So that means including through smooth muscles in the internal organs and the cardiac muscles for the heart and some glands. Certainly automatic control still including the sensory part. Sensory part, mainly receptors located in outside of the brain. But then they send the information and they're like a control center inside of the brain. So that's our system. We're talking about a little bit more about ANIs, automatically nervous system. So automatically nervous systems, we say automatic control. So basically, we don't know, we don't react. So that's control systems. And we say including three parts. Sensory part, sensory part generally say is on the organs, some organs, inside some organs, and inside some blood vessels. Then the information is sending to the control center. Control center, usually in the CNS, like we talked about the hypothalamus part. We have lot of control center there. And then they will send the information down to the motor part. So motor part will go to smooth muscle, go to the heart, and go to brain. Pretty similar like we have picture for control of our hand writing there. But they just go to the organ. So that's the picture for all automatically control here. So we have two pretty commonly nervous transmitter, ACH and NE. That's the two more commonly nervous transmitter. So we see automatically nervous systems and its control. That's coming from the spinal cord. That's the nerve branch, whole ganglion kind of nerve branch here. Then they go to the ganglion area, the terminal there. That's a chemical kind of synapse here. They relieve the nervous transmitters, ACH. Yeah. And the ACH go to the space here or synapse here. The second nervous cells will have receptors receive the ACH. Then the transmissions, the information or nerve impulses go to close to our organ here. And close to the organ here, so the organ including our heart, including the bladder, yeah, some organ here. The second transmitter here, the second transmitter here is NE. So that's different transmitter here. And the same thing, like we say, control for the blood vessels. We separate here. Here is belong to sympathetic nervous branch. Control the organs and control the blood vessels. First part pretty similar. They still relieve ACH. And then go to some glands, that's adrenaline, adrenal glands. That's controlled glands. And then adrenaline can directly relieve epinephrine or no epinephrine. So basically you see here, no epinephrine part exactly the same. We talking about the second transmitter here. So basically they work in the same way. Like make the heart beating strongly, make the blood vessels contractions. So that's basically we go to different part of the organs, but finally reaction basically pretty similar. Then we talking about the parasympathetic. parasympathetic. Thus, the ganglion we say more close to the organs. You can see let it be long way go to here. Their transmitters, both ACH. Whole ganglion nervous ending part relieve transmitter ACH, and also poster ganglion receive view ACH. So that clinically we can specially use special kind of chemicals or transmitters trigger special kind of actions. Or even we can blocking some receptors, blocking some actions. It's depending. So that's the automatically nervous systems. Here is the somatic nervous system. When we talking about the somatic nervous system, means directly control skeletal muscles. So truly, for control skeletal muscles, the nerves will directly coming from spinal cord and directly control skeletal muscles. It is not truly changing the nerve cells in the ganglion. Then they relieve the transmitters, zero ACH. So look like a much simple compared with the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So chart here, just to give you some idea, compare with the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So their transmitters is kind of different, and their fabric is kind of different. Yeah. So that's basic. Get some basic idea in here. I didn't truly put their different actions because action part even more complicated. So I'm not truly putting here, but just give you some basic idea what they're working, same or different part. So that's of our nervous systems. Yeah.